Throughout history, artists have depicted the land and the sea through paintings, drawings, prints, photographs. This type of art is called landscapes or seascapes, depending on the subject. All of these landscapes or seascapes have one thing in common. They all have a background, a middle ground, and a foreground. Check out this photo from Jordan Lake. What do you think is the background? The background in all landscapes or seascapes is what is the farthest thing that we see in the work. And in this case, it's the sky. Now, what's the middle ground? What's in the middle of the picture? The trees and the lake. Now, what's the foreground? What's closest to us in the picture? The shore with the sand and the rocks and the sticks and the roots. Find a photograph of a landscape or seascape. It could be the mountains, it could be the plains, it could be a tundra, it could be a beach, and use that photograph as a reference to create your own drawing or painting of a landscape or seascape. To begin your landscape or seascape, you're going to need a piece of paper, a pencil. I'm going to use crayons and markers, but you are more than welcome to use watercolors or any other media that you would like. I'm going to make a drawing of this photo of Jordan Lake, and I'm going to first look for the line that separates the background from the middle ground. I'm first going to notice the line that separates the background from the middle ground. And at the left of my photo, I've noticed the tree line where the trees meet the sky. And then where the trees extend out into the lake. And then where the lake meets the sky, all the way across. Then I'm going to notice where the middle ground and the foreground meet, which is where the lake meets the shore, where the sand and the rocks are, and some limbs. So now I have my background, the sky, my middle ground, the trees and the lake, and my foreground, the shore, the dirt and the rocks and the sticks. Now I'm going to go back into the background and notice the clouds. Are the clouds bigger at the top or at the bottom where they meet the middle ground? Yeah, they are bigger. The clouds look bigger at the top of the paper. So I'm going to sketch in some clouds where I see them. There are a lot of clouds, so I might eliminate a few. That's okay. There's a lot of puffy clouds. Now let's look at the middle ground. There is a line where the trees meet the lake. Then I'm going to notice some of the lines that I see in the lake. And I'm going to add those. Very subtle lake waves. A little bit more bold towards the foreground. And these lines are going to appear to be closer to each other as we move towards the background. Now for the foreground. I'm going to sketch some of the images that I see in the foreground. Like this curbing and the stick. some grass, some more sticks, some leaves, on this branch. Some roots. There's some rocks. I'm not going to draw every single rock, but I'm going to draw some shapes to indicate that there's more rocks here than there are over here. And although I could add some sparse rock shapes out here. Making this corner really textured like it is in my photograph. Let's look back at the photograph. What color or colors are in the sky? What colors do you see in the background in your photograph? I see dark blue going into light blue, white, and gray. So how do I color the sky from dark to light? I'm gonna just use a blue and a white crayon to show you how to make that value change. Because in my photograph at the top of the sky, it's really, really dark. And then as it moves towards the lake, it gets lighter and lighter. And I'm just lightening up on my pressure as I move down. Let me blend that in a little bit more right there. And then lighten up the pressure as you move down. And then you can even add some white on top of that to lighten it all up a little bit. And the white also blends in the crayon. It makes it smoother. Time to color in my sky. As you color in your background, work side to side but top to bottom. So go from one side to the other and then move your way down doing the same thing. Now I'm going to add a little bit of white over all of that, especially as I move towards the middle ground to this line here, which is also called the horizon line, where the land, and in this case the land and the water, meet the sky. Now I'm going to add a little bit of gray and even a little bit of blue to some parts of the clouds where I see that. Now to start coloring the middle ground. If you look to the left where the trees are, I've added just a base coat of green and some tree trunks with my pencil. And then I began to look for some dark areas and added a little bit of black. Then I started to add some circles of dark greens and middle greens and light greens to make a tree-like texture. The tree texture is going to be very different than the sky texture. To add that texture, you want to color it in little circles or swirls and layer those colors of dark green, light green, yellow. I'm going to go back in and add just some little specks of black. And a little kind of an outline of where the trees meet the lake, and then go back over that with some more green. Now I'm going to add some flecks of yellow in there. Now there are some trees even further back from these trees that meet the lake. Can add a little bit of green right here. Mix in a little bit of black. And some yellow green. And the trees on this side, where the lake meets the trees, is almost a black color. Add a little bit of black here. And then some green on top of that. Still showing some texture. What colors do you see in the lake? I see blues, black, white, gray, greens. So we just said that we see blues and black and grays and white in the lake. So we're going to start with a blue just to lay out that base color like we did for the trees. Lightly, not dark. So I noticed some of the brightest blue areas of the lake are over here. So I'm going to darken my blue. And also towards the horizon. And also some bands of dark blue towards the foreground. A little bit on this side. I'm going to look for some grays now and add in some gray over my blues. I'm going to then add some black, look for some of the darkest areas in the water. Now I'm going to add some more blues. I'm going to then add some grays and blend that in with the water. All the colors that you see in your middle ground of your photograph. I'm then going to blend white in with the colors and then a little bit of yellow where I see some greens happening in the water and then some more blue. How should I begin coloring the foreground? What colors should I use for the base? I'm thinking a light brown or a peachy color would be a good beginning for the foreground. So we said a light brown or a peach for our base color. If you don't have a peach, you can use a brown and just color real lightly and then add white on top. Color this rocky area base a gray color. Now I'm going to look for any dark brown areas. And I actually noticed a little bit of brown. There's a little bit of brown in the wave here. I'm going to add that. And then darken up my brown where I see those roots and sticks. And any shadows I might see that look darker. Now I'm going to add some gray where I see some shadows and dark areas on these sticks and roots. Now I'm going to add some green and yellow to the areas that I see grass or leaves. Then I'm going to add a little bit of black in the grass. Now I'm going to add the color and detail in this piece of wood, the curbing, and the rocks, the gravel area here. Rocky texture, I'm adding layers of gray circular shapes and adding a little bit of white and even some brown to it. As a final step, I added some pencil where the rocks are.